The Goodfellas, the one critics worship, the one filmmakers study, the one that feels so real it practically sweats, isn't the real Goodfellas. The original cut was so violent it didn't just upset the MPAA, it triggered an X rating. Not because of nudity, not because of language, because the violence felt too real, too intimate, too close to something human beings aren't supposed to witness. And if that sounds extreme, consider this. At the very first test screening in California, 70 people walked out. They weren't offended, they weren't bored, they were physically ill. Some clutched their stomachs, others covered their eyes. One studio executive claimed he'd never seen a crowd react like that to a non-horror film. This movie didn't just push boundaries, it crossed them. So if you think you've seen Goodfellas, you may have only seen the sanitized, the softened, the legally acceptable version. Today, we're opening the vault on what Scorsese had to cut, and why those cuts might be the real reason the film became a masterpiece. Goodfellas is revered for its authenticity. The way the violence doesn't feel choreographed, the way jokes and threats bleed into each other, the way death feels sudden and inevitable. But what most people don't know is that Scorsese didn't just shoot realism, he shot reality, raw and unfiltered, and then had to shave it down frame by frame so the public could handle it. Behind every shocking moment in the final cut lies an even darker version, a version that almost destroyed the movie's release. And nowhere is that more apparent than the scene that nearly killed Goodfellas before it ever hit theaters. The Billy Batts scene, the 10 frames that almost ruined everything. Tommy's attack on Billy Batts is already one of the most infamous scenes in modern cinema. The laughter, the sudden blow, the frenzy, it plays like a bomb going off in a basement. But what most people don't know is that Scorsese was forced to surgically remove exactly 10 frames from that moment. 10, not 9, not 11. Why? Because those 10 frames showed something the MPAA simply wouldn't tolerate, the moment the knife actually enters the body. In that microscopic sliver of film, you could see the puncture, the flash where steel meets flesh. And worse than what you saw was what you heard. The original audio mix included the subtle crack of ribs fracturing, a damp, bone-deep sound. Too quiet to be theatrical, but too real to be ignored. The MPAA's official note was chillingly simple. Remove the frames depicting penetration and the sound effect that accompanies it. That was it. The censors didn't want less violence. They wanted less reality. Because the Batts scene isn't shot like a horror movie. It's shot like a memory. A scar burned into Henry Hill's mind. There's no dramatic angle, no slow motion, no stylized blood spray. It's messy. Close. Physical. 3 men in a cramped room doing something horrible and necessary. And that's what rattled the MPAA. Not the gore, but the intimacy. The violence wasn't theatrical. It was domestic, almost suffocating. Like watching a friend do something unforgivable in your living room. Those 10 frames might seem small, but they held the difference between an R rating and a film that would have been dead on arrival. The spider incident. The scene that made people walk out. But if Batts rattled the censors, Spider's death rattled actual human beings. Michael Imperioli was young, unknown, and heartbreakingly believable as Spider, the kid who finally grows a spine, only to be punished for it. In the script, the scene is sudden. On screen, it's a shockwave. During the first test screening, the Batts scene made people squirm. Spider's murder made them leave. When Tommy fires that gun, the auditorium jolted like it had been physically struck. Dozens stood up at once. Some muttered, "I can't do this." Others shouted back at the screen as if trying to stop the inevitable. What bothered them wasn't the blood or the gunshot. It was the emptiness of it. Spider dies for nothing. No betrayal, no revenge, no warning. Just Tommy's mood. It's the kind of mob violence rarely shown on film. Not the grand operatic killings, but the ones fueled by boredom, irritation, petty cruelty. And in that moment, the audience was confronted with the uncomfortable truth. The Mafia isn't a brotherhood. It's a workplace where the slightest misstep can end your life. Spider's death isn't just shocking, it's nihilistic, and that's why it broke people. Scorsese later admitted the walkouts didn't surprise him. The scene was designed to expose the truth beneath the glamour, the truth that real mob violence isn't cool or respectable. It's stupid, random, pointless. And speaking of pointless violence, the real Tommy DeSimone made the movie version look tame. The real Tommy DeSimone, reality was far, far worse. Joe Pesci's Tommy is one of the greatest characters in cinema. Funny, terrifying, unpredictable. A man who can make you laugh and flinch in the same breath. But here's the thing. The real Tommy DeSimone wasn't a charismatic loose cannon. He was a giant and a genuine sadist. 6'2", 225 pounds, former boxer, known for breaking jaws like most people crack knuckles. And while the film portrays him as dangerous, it still protects the audience from who he actually was. In real life, DeSimone wasn't just violent, he wasn't just unstable. He was a serial killer, in the clearest and most disturbing sense. The FBI attributes multiple killings to him, many unconnected to business, vendettas, or mob hierarchy. He killed strangers for sport. Once shot a random man outside a bar simply because he didn't like the way the man looked at him. Used another as target practice. Committed sexual crimes so brutal that Scorsese refused to hint at them, fearing it would shift the film's entire tone. And here's the detail that rarely gets mentioned. Even in the Mafia, where brutality is currency, Tommy was considered a liability, a monster they could not control. His disappearance wasn't revenge for bats alone. It was a house cleaning, a preemptive strike to stop a man who seemed to enjoy killing more than making money. The movie makes him fiery, dangerous, unhinged. Reality made him something else entirely. A person whose actions were too disturbing even for a film defined by its realism. And after all that violence, all that brutality, Scorsese balanced the film with perhaps the most elegant shot of his career. The Copacabana secret, a perfect illusion. After all the chaos and bloodshed in the film, the Copacabana shot is a strange thing, a moment of grace. A single unbroken take as Henry guides Karen through the back doors, the kitchens, the hallways, into the swirling lights of the club. But here's the secret. It's a magic trick. The walk wasn't long enough for the song Then He Kissed Me to sync perfectly. The timing was off by almost 20 seconds. So Scorsese improvised. The crew walked De Niro and Lorraine Bracco through the same hallway twice, filmed from different angles with different extras and props, creating the illusion of an endless labyrinth leading straight into the heart of seduction. The shot feels effortless, but the reality was chaos, moving tables, relaying cables, recuing extras, steadying the camera every time someone bumped it. And yet, on screen, it's flawless. It captures the high, the rush, the glamour that makes the violence feel so inevitable later. You understand why Henry stayed in that life, why he fell in love with it, why he could never walk away, until the life itself spat him out. Goodfellas stands as one of the greatest films ever made, not because of what it shows, but because of what it doesn't. The 10 forbidden frames of the bat stabbing, the original bone-cracking audio track, the spider scene that made real people flee the theater, the real Tommy DeSimone, so monstrous that even Scorsese backed away, the Copacabana shot, a perfect illusion to balance all the brutality. This film didn't survive censorship. It weaponized it. Scorsese trimmed the excess not to soften the movie, but to sharpen it. To make every punch land harder, every murder feel more intimate, every laugh echo with danger. In the end, Goodfellas is a masterpiece not because of what Scorsese put in, but because of what he had the discipline to leave out. For more cinematic deep dives into the secrets Hollywood tried to hide, hit subscribe and check out the next breakdown.